This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion. Yeah, okay, we're going to actually discuss some Oilers topics, not just my your longing for, what is that, NHL playoff hockey, especially considering the situation we find ourselves in. That said, alright, you know what, live sports returned last night, but this is, again, we'll switch back from playoffs are going to happen to off-season mode here quickly because, honestly, at the end of the week, a YouTuber's dream for content is the 9 things list that the Edmonton Journal puts out on the Edmonton Oilers every week. That thing is just filled with content. Hopefully sometimes I'm ahead of the curve, which I was on the Marcus Granlund news, but other times I'm reacting same as you, but getting my opinions out there and getting you some content on a fine Sunday afternoon. What day is it? Is it May 9th? 10th? Is it the 11th? Ooh, man, I was supposed to be at work today. No. Alright, anyway, one of the things in that Edmonton Journal article today was a little snippet on Mr. Tomas Jurco, because let me see if I can find it. It's in my history somewhere here. Where is it? It is not there, apparently. Okay. Let me go back and just, you know what? We'll just talk Tomas Jurco. I don't need to find it. You can go find the 9 Things article. You've probably already read it yourself. You know what I'm talking about. Is the possibility of Tomas Jurco coming back? Is it going to happen? Is it not? Does he fit? Does he not? And here's the situation with Tomas Jurco. All right, he went for surgery December, somewhere right around Christmas. I want to say like the 21st or 22nd, somewhere in there. And has been out ever since. He played with the Bakersfield Condors for a time before that, also finding himself in 12 games with the Oilers. So with that said, let's just quickly review those 12 games with the Oilers. This is the Hockey Reference stat page for Tomas Jurco. 12 games played, 2 assists, +1, 4 penalty minutes, saw 9 minutes and 59 seconds on the ice per game. And realistically, guys, did not play much at all for ice time. Had 7 shots. Face-off percentage of 50%, and kind of see all the other stats, right? He was really good possession strength. They're probably one of the best paces of his career, actually. 6 takeaways, 2 giveaways. So the guy was grabbing possession of the puck and creating stuff, but not ending up with goals and assists for it. However, he then went down to Bakersfield, played an additional 8 games with them, and ended up with 7 points total. If I can find him on the list here, he had 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points, a -2 rating on a Bakersfield Condors team that could have definitely used a Tomas Jurco all season long. So, that leaves the question, right? Tomas Jurco, a guy who came in on a $750,000 contract last season, found himself in the minors right away, but if you see in his Instagram post, he kind of mentions that it was a lingering issue with his hip. So you talk about that, right? How much that impacts a hockey player. How much do you use your hips when you're skating on the ice, turning those corners and such? Well, let me tell you, I use my hips quite a bit. Maybe I'm just doing it wrong, but I could not tell you for sure. Signed July 1st, 2019 was Tomas Jurco. So, of course, one of those free agent frenzy signings. And a really good depth signing at that, $750,000. His lowest cap hit since his, 2014-15 season, in which that was the final deal of his entry-level contract. Thing is, the reason I think this is at all a possibility that Jurco comes back, if you look at the details, you look at all the fancy metrics, you look at the stats, you look at anything, when it comes to Tomas Jurco, the only reason he comes back is realistically because he fits that role that Granlund does, in the fact that you can probably shuttle him up and down between Bakersfield and, of course, Edmonton, but that's not where I think. It's another cheap contract, right? You can probably get him for a league minimum once again. And then third to that is just the fact that the Ken Holland connection, right? I can sit here and try to spit it out all day. It's the Ken Holland connection. This is the guy Ken Holland's groomed from day one of his career, has had for, you go back to Tomas Jurco's cap friendly, he had him for how many years? All the way up till 2017 in Detroit, and got him back in 2019. So he really hasn't been gone that long in Ken Holland's tenure as a GM, either in Detroit or Edmonton. So that's the interesting part here, right? Is Tomas Jurco, what did he add? He added 2 assists in 12 games, but are we going to judge the book by its cover? No, because of the lingering hip issue. But the other side, too, with Jurco is the fact that he has had several situations in his career where he's been injured. I think at one point he missed a whole bunch of a season. Was that? Yeah, I think that was 16-17. He missed a bunch of the season with Detroit, Chicago when he split it there. But you look at the history for Jurco, yes, he does have an injury history, but at 700,000, at worst, if you're adding a contract to Bakersfield and a pro level deal that you can shuttle back and forth between the AHL and NHL, similar to what was happening with Marcus Granlund at times this year, I don't see how you can lose. Honestly, I don't see how you can lose. It's a good idea, but the thing is, you look at the Oilers and you kind of ask yourself how they're going to stack up, right? Is Bakersfield has kind of really padded the situation with minor pro deals to basically make sure that the Condors don't run into the issue they did this year where they're so thin because of injury. They've got guys that can step in and play and not be thin because of injury and then call-ups and send-downs as well. That's kind of what happened. Bakersfield got hammered with call-ups, send-downs, and of course injury bug at the same time at times this year, and that really hurt them. And especially when you're trying to develop players, you don't want to overplay players, so there's a lot of situations to take into account, and I think Bakersfield and Keith Gretzky as well as Ken Holland have made some really finesse moves so far to tighten up the Condors. But Tomas Jurco, a pro, right, a guy who's an absolute pro, would, well, pretty much add some star power to Bakersfield in the veteran presence, especially alongside a guy like Brad Malone and such. But you look at the Oilers' contract situation, if I've got this right going into next year, the Oilers have 33 standard player contracts underway for next year already. That being said, they've got Smith to sign, they've got Bear to sign, Benning to sign, Green, who knows, Patrick Russell, who knows, Tyler Ennis, hopefully, Riley Sheehan, definitely, hopefully, and Andres Athanasiou. That's your NHL club roster, right? So when you talk about that, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 if you count Green, and then another, so you're talking already 41 pro contracts when it comes to the NHL level and the AHL level for what's signed next year without re-signing Jurco, Cameron Hebig, Brad Malone's signed to an AHL deal. Joseph Gambardella is good. Josh Curry, a big one, right? Where we need to talk about Josh Curry. Ryan Kuffner's another. Nolan Vesey's gone. So right there you've got Kuffner. You've got Jurco. You've got Hebig. I don't know what the situation is with Hebig. I think he's signed with Condors. I couldn't tell you. I've missed several of their signings and I need to get caught up to date. But again, when this whole offseason thing comes to an end and we get back to playoffs, we'll be good. Josh Curry, so you talk about Curry, Jurco, and Kuffner. That's another 3. That's 44. You talk about Logan Day probably not getting an extra deal. Legason is 45. Keegan Lowe probably not getting a deal. But then you've got, of course, Shane Starrett, who will more than likely get a deal as well. So 46. So you're already talking pretty much hitting your 48, 49 roster size, which is where teams love to be during the off season. They don't want to cap out or roster out and be at 50 in the off season. So you're talking 46, 45 contracts thereabout if you include Jurco. So say 46 if you include Jurco. That's risky territory for a team that might want to add a piece or trade a piece for 2 pieces or whatever the case might be. But again, realistically, guys, as we look, if the cap's going to be flat, and all things considered, I will run back our team we had this year next year. We're really not losing much. You look at kind of the all-around ages of the guys we have to re-sign. Athanasiou's 25. Sheehan will be 29. He's not even 30. Ennis will be 31. That's not a hit. Patrick Russell, 28 if he comes back. Benning, 26. Bear, 23. Mike Smith, 39, but he's got juice left in the tank, especially if Koskinen can take a couple more games next year. Like, there's really no way the Oilers regress so terribly unless something inexplicable happens across the NHL, especially given that Draisaitl and McDavid will only keep getting better for the next 5-6 years at minimum. Right? Running it back, if that includes Tomas Jurco, it makes sense. If it doesn't include Tomas Jurco, it makes sense. But I think there's three good reasons why Tomas Jurco ends up back with the Oilers, especially given the fact he didn't get a fair shake. I think, right? Not a fair shake. You know what? He's a guy that adds that minor pro detail or that shuttle detail between Bakersfield and Edmonton, kind of like Granlund was on. And then secondary to that, he's a guy who's a Ken Holland guy. So there's a lot of things to be considered here, especially when you get into the contract situation and blah, blah, blah. But on a 700, 725, whatever the league minimum is this upcoming year, Tomas Jurco, if it doesn't work out, I mean, anyone, if you've listened this long, give me 20 extra seconds to say, did signing Tomas Jurco at all hurt the Edmonton Oilers this season? In any shape, way, or form. $750,000, one contract against the cap. I don't think anyone's pointing the finger at Tomas Jurco like they were pointing the finger at Toby Reeder last year. Alright, I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV, guys. I will catch you in the next one.